The Reverse Expansion of Civilization, published by Liu Cixin in 2003. In the world of science fiction, a sci-fi feature article, he came up with a simple yet magical answer. If civilization cannot exceed the speed of light, then how should humanity expand? First, let's try out this scenario. When generations of dreamers call out, the search for extraterrestrial civilizations finally arrives on Earth. Humans may be facing what they never even dreamed of, a level of awkwardness beyond imagination. Aliens reaching out with warmth to humanity, only to be met with indifference, while running off to hug and chat with ants. Which gives rise to a question we've never seriously considered before. Who truly is the rightful ruler of Earth? If you automatically assume it's humans, you'll ultimately find yourself looking foolish. We've only been coming down from the trees for a few million years, and what we really call civilization, that has only been around for about 5,000 years. But long before that, ants had already built their grand empire. Oh, you'll argue, of course, that we have civilization. It's humanity, that has elevated Earth's status in the universe. But in reality, there's no evidence to prove that yet. For instance, maybe you might think, the era when the little asteroid struck Earth and caused the extinction of the dinosaurs was considered the most terrifying era. But actually, in our current era, the extinction rate of Earth's species is far higher than back then. From this perspective, now is truly the most terrifying era in the history of Earth's life. Perhaps civilization itself is a path for all life on Earth. The bright path of succession, maybe even including humanity in that. The trap of Earth's life heading towards extinction. Because the defining feature of our civilization is its expansiveness. The insatiable expansiveness, blowing up their own scale like inflating a balloon endlessly, not caring when it bursts. If civilization truly continues, it will inevitably expand its scale without limits, becoming a massive macro civilization. Science fiction writers have delved deep into civilizations. They have vividly described many aspects, like the ring-shaped world of the Renini civilization, depicting a massive structure built by civilization around stars, as seen in Asimov's Foundation series, where humans span the entire galaxy. And in 2001, A Space Odyssey, utilizes a kind of technology that humans could never hope, a superdimensional structure beyond our comprehension. But we're not writing science fiction. As long as we make even a slightly serious, long-term prediction about the future of civilization, it must be made within the boundaries of data and the laws of physics. Otherwise, it's not a prediction. It's mythology. The first step for a civilization to expand into space must of course begin with its own planetary system. Do you remember the age of exploration? Humans have taken over the entire planet like a swarm of locusts. The population is expanding at an exponential rate. It's a terrifying thing. If humans gain enough technological capability, they will expand like the sun in its prime. It's the same story. And that's when you'll realize our solar system is a tiny place. Even if Mercury and the asteroid belt are full of metal, Europa and Saturn either have water, but they just aren't enough to sustain us. Human civilization will soon face a survival crisis on a cosmic scale. Our next move can only be to continue expanding into outer space, at which point we will encounter an insurmountable barrier. Because based on current scientific theory, the speed of light cannot be surpassed. There is no theory or observation to prove the existence of multiple dimensions in space. Space folding is like talking about dreams. In fact, what we can currently see in the astral can't even reach 1/10 of the speed of light. So, reaching the nearest star would mean coming back. It would take close to a century. And to reach a truly usable voluntary star frequency, memories might require thousands of years or even longer. This kind of cycle is something a civilized society finds unbearable. So, the future of Earth's civilization expanding into the stars, that will only end up like dandelion seeds scattered in the wind. It's difficult for them to establish contact, because from the very beginning, that miracle will always be divided. It can never come together as a whole. In other words, expanding space dimensions is not feasible. So, we need to change our way of thinking. It's time to change our approach. Let's return to the topic of ants we started with. Why didn't ants go extinct, like the dinosaurs, but instead survive to this day? One very important reason is that they are extremely small creatures. A biological community made up of small individuals requires very little space and resources to survive. Therefore, they have stronger survival capabilities. In the same amount of space, there might be room for only one dinosaur to lie down and sleep. But for a successful ant, it's a vast expanse of land, shrinking oneself to expand living space. We call this reverse expansion of civilization. In the long run, reverse expansion might be the inevitable path of human civilization. His technology is more realistic than breaking the speed of light barrier, at least in the early stages of planning. Humans can use genetic engineering to intervene in the evolution, continuously shrinking their individual size. The smallest mammals on Earth now, and the mammal most similar to humans is rodents. Entering genetic engineering, humans may eventually be able to shrink themselves to the size of a mouse. What if humans reach that size? The world in their eyes, a fundamental change will occur. Even Earth alone, for humans, is already an unimaginably vast world. And yet, this is only the first step of reverse expansion. Considering the ultimate development of civilization, such a scale of reduction is still not enough. In order to create ample room for future super civilization, massive in scale, humans might have to shrink themselves down to the size of bacteria. This idea sounds crazy, but compared to surpassing the speed of light and folding space, at least he hasn't violated known physics. Laws of physics, material down to the atomic level, consider the size of bacteria, the number of atoms it possesses, including the quantum states of each atom. That's pure enough. Pure in dealing with the information currently being announced in people's brain. So one made up of bacteria, a civilization made up of, what does it look like? What does the world look like in their eyes? Maybe we can continue to ask questions. Will humanity discover the truth of the universe? Not exploring outward, but traveling inward. But civilizations realize that the nature of expansion is self-development. How should we choose to devour humanity? Former scientists came together, leaning towards a macro-civilization perspective, speculating on the possible evidence of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations. We are dedicated to finding large-scale wonders, assuming things without evidence. When an interstellar civilization reaches a certain level of development, he is bound to maximize the utilization of the energy from their home star. And that's how Dyson scored the job-winning goal. A star who showcases skills like those in Chuanzhou. We might just discover civilizations beyond our own. But for now, let's look at the existence of alien civilizations from a pessimistic perspective. Consider for a moment the presence of extraterrestrials. If civilizations aren't about making themselves bigger, but more about observing, it may not help us in our search for alien civilizations, but to shed light on why. Why haven't I seen them yet? A bunch of tiny beings like bacteria, a group of extraterrestrial beings, basically having their own Olympics right under your nose. You wouldn't even notice their presence. But going microscopic isn't the ultimate in civilization development. A super civilization could eventually be like as Skolak described it while roaming through space, freezing their existence in time, caught up in a dialectic with light. This kind of civilization has been set, shedding macro and pessimistic concepts. If you're willing, they can think of it as a principle or expand into a star. So for this ultimate speculation on civilization, more and more original intentions are found in science fiction. Obtain. The Lucky Prize-winning American sci-fi novel Gravity God's Brocade has depicted the distant future, a human civilization with a solid foundation and evolved state. Even this kind of speculation appears in the serious contemplation of scientists. The famous popular science work Cosmos. The last 3 minutes are a masterpiece in this regard. But for us, such a civilization has taken on more of a philosophical, even mystical hue. With more funding for this article, we can imagine another ultimate civilization. Compared to those lifeless Lisa civilizations, it possesses an unparalleled grandeur and magnificence. The dim light civilization, as a result of cosmic expansion, inevitable, had a macro scale its spatial dimensions once again. But unlike the primitive macro civilizations formed by continental structures, this was another sublimation of civilization, a new movement in which life composed the most magnificent symphony of the universe. But when it comes to the mysterious and the future of civilization in the universe, any description seems a bit feeble. The rest is up to your own imagination.